What's up, everybody? Tori, McElhaney, Amna, Subhan here with the Falcons in Focus podcast brought to you by Ticketmaster. Now, we have a special guest, as we always do with this podcast. This week, we have quarterbacks coach TJ Yates here joining us. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Now, before we get started, I do have to read our Ticketmaster sponsorship because we are, again, brought to you by Ticketmaster. As the official ticket marketplace of the Falcons and the NFL, Ticketmaster has a wide selection of tickets available for every game. Whether you're cheering on the Falcons at home or away, Ticketmaster has you covered. Download the Ticketmaster app or find tickets today at Ticketmaster.com/Falcons. That's Ticketmaster.com/Falcons.
That's Ticketmaster.com/Falcons.
In case you didn't get it. All right, TJ, we're going back in time a little bit.
Okay.
We're going back to, let's say you're maybe 15, 16 years old.
Okay.
I'm sure a great kid. I'm sure you were a great kid.
Phenomenal kid.
Phenomenal kid.
Did nothing wrong.
No, definitely not. Pope High School.
Correct.
In Marietta.
That's correct.
Yep. So what's so funny about this is that I didn't realize you quit football.
I did.
And which is hilarious because you would go on and you would have a really great collegiate career, a solid NFL career, and now you are coaching football. So, but as a 15, 16-year-old, you're like, football, not it. So,
basketball.
Yeah.
Basketball.
So explain to us the story of the day that you thought football was not for you.
So it goes back. I'm from Indiana, Indianapolis, Indiana, which for those people who have seen the movie Hoosiers, it's a big basketball state. I grew up loving basketball. Both my parents are Purdue Boilermakers. This past NCAA tournament, they're glued to the TV. So I just grew up a basketball fan, from a very little kid. And moved to Atlanta when I was in third grade. And obviously still was pursuing basketball and football kind of at the same time. I wasn't like a first football player. I was a basketball player first all the way, through growing up. So, I just naturally, just kind of played football with my friends and played a little baseball, but didn't, I don't think I played baseball past middle school. So then when we get to high school in Georgia, I was literally running the triple option. And that is more, it's better for shorter, more athletic quarterbacks, which I don't really fall in that category very much. But I was still, heavy on the basketball circuit, heavy AAU all summer long, stuff like that. So after my second straight year of running the option in high school, and we were not a very good team, I wasn't very good at it. I was getting beat up a lot, just on the field. Decided to focus strictly on basketball, basketball year round, AAU. I thought that's where my, college future was going to be. So I took my junior year off of playing football and focused, solely on basketball, and then had some offers in basketball, some kind of lower level, like Georgia Southern, Furman, the old Southern Conference, basketball conference. But then going into my senior year, we got a brand new coach who brought in a spread offense, completely different than what we had run the past couple of years. And honestly, I'd missed playing with my friends. So go out my senior year literally just to play football and have fun. And it was, 2, 3, 4 games into the season, there was a North Carolina linebacker coach scouting 2 linebackers on the other team from Woodstock High School, one of which actually ended up playing in the NFL for a while. But I had a really good game that game, and I think it was the next Monday or next Tuesday, I get called to my head coach's office, and I walk in the head coach's office, and it's the linebacker coach from North Carolina, and he told me to stand up. He's like, "Will you stand up for me?" I was like, "Okay, sure." And I stood up, and he goes, "Okay, yeah, we'll take him."
No.
And I was like,
They just need you to
"What are you talking about? What do you mean?" I was like, "I didn't know who are you?"
Right, yeah.
He's like, "Oh, I want to offer you a scholarship to play football at North Carolina." I was like, "Done. I'll take it." And solely based off the school and academics and overall experience, it was Georgia Southern to play basketball or UNC to play football.
Yeah.
And I called my dad right after that. I was like, "Dad, I got offered from North Carolina." He's like, "In basketball?" I was like, No. In football.
In
I was
basketball?
He's like, "What are you going to do?" It's like, "I want to go." So I committed before I ever even been on campus or anything like that to play football there. So that's the long story short of me just kind of gravitating toward football.
Was it just like a gut feeling that made you want to like not even visit the campus then?
I just knew, like, being just a North Carolina fan just for so long, Michael Jordan, like I have pictures back in the day from like when I was a little kid where I had like a UNC jersey or UNC jacket, like, just naturally growing up liking them just because basketball and Michael Jordan. So I was like, I think it was more the cool factor. I was like, oh, cool, UNC, let's go. Yeah. I had no decision on like football, basketball. I just like immediately was like, oh, okay, I'll come. I was just like so brought back by what happened. I was like, okay, sounds good.
That is insane. And you say like you had a good game, but we looked it up and it was like the game that linebackers coach was there. It was a 5-touchdown game, over 300 passing yards, if I'm looking at it correctly. Double overtime game.
Yeah.
And that's what's so crazy about, like, and the more I talk to scouts, the more I realize, like, sometimes the best people you find are not the ones you're looking for. And this is a prime example of that. And the fact that you were only a few games into, like, back playing again.
Yeah.
I don't know. When you look back at that time and you think about the decision that ultimately kind of altered the direction of your life.
Absolutely. At
16, 17 years old, like, what does that make you feel for that kid just kind of being like, sure, I'll go play again?
The guy who recruited me was a guy named Tommy Thigpen, who I'm still very close with. Like, I tell him all the time, like you changed my life. Like your eye, whatever you saw that day, like your decision to like call up the head coach at the time, and be like, hey, we got to offer this kid. Like he just tore it up on the field. Like if he would have not even been paying attention or just left the game early or whatever, like. Everything happens for a reason, and it wasn't really anything that I did or to kind of change and alter that course. It was more about another guy taking a chance on me, which was, really cool and a cool way to think of it. Like you said, I mean, it literally changed everything about my life. If I would have gone here, done this, I would have been not here right now. That's for sure.
Right.
Yeah.
You were trying to get recruited for basketball. When you're playing football and you're just free and having fun with your friends, did that make it easier to record 5 touchdowns and then get recruited the next day?
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't like pressure on me. It wasn't like I was going into that season being like, I have to play good so I can get a scholarship. Like I knew I always had basketball to like fall back on. So yeah, I mean, yeah, there was just a certain thing about not overthinking, not thinking too much, just going out there and playing free. And like you said, I was literally just going out there having fun with my friends. And worked out pretty well.
Yeah. So you get to UNC and you kind of start that process. Was there ever a point in time where you look back and I mean, I feel like you probably never fell out of love with football. It was just that always basketball was your first love.
For sure.
So at what point, maybe during the years that you were at UNC, did you really start to feel like, wait a minute, like I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be and I'm playing the sport that is going to be something for me?
It probably didn't happen till my senior year,
Okay.
Because going into it, like I was like the 5th quarterback my freshman year, like I redshirted, did all that, and we had a coaching change going into my second year, and it was basically like an open competition, but there was like 4 or 5 quarterbacks on the roster, so again, there wasn't much expectation from my point. It wasn't like I was going out there like, hey, I'm the starter. Like I was just like kind of happy to be there. I knew I was going to work hard and kind of see what happens, and then start my freshman year, sophomore year, start again, get hurt, have to come back from that. Started my junior year, had an awful year, like awful year. And then
I'm sorry to laugh, but it's funny
because
we've been looking at like stats and stuff.
Yeah. It's like like all time this, all time that. This still holds this record. So,
yeah, and like I'm like there was like low points my junior year in college. Like I'm walking off the field at home and people are like throwing stuff at me, like change and batteries and like all this stuff. I'm like, this isn't very fun.
I heard you got booed at a basketball game.
I got booed at a basketball. I was there at a basketball game, and then I somehow like they have this like kind of prompt that all like the collegiate athletes say there, like I'm TJ Yates and I'm a Tar Heel.
Yeah.
Like they go through like all these different athletes from around the school saying it. And then here's my turn. Boo! So it was well deserved because I did not play good my junior year at all.
How do you mentally like get out of that though? Because you go on to have the senior year that you had, but I feel like all the while, and this is just me personally, like I would have that in the back of my head, just kind of like weighing down on me. So how did you, from a mental standpoint, move past that?
So going into my senior year, there was, just like every year in college, there's a new fresh recruit that's coming in that he's going to beat you out. He's there for a reason, whatever. And it was, honestly, I was just trying to keep my job. Like, I didn't want to ride the bench my senior year because the kid they brought in, the guy named Bryn Renner, was really good. And he's still one of my great friends to this day. Just healthy competition, That was a huge part of what pushed me. Not only I didn't want to lose my starting job, but then at the same time I had this really talented kid behind me pushing me every day to, keep getting better and better and better. And then, there was actually a lot of, stuff around my senior year that happened because we had all these NCAA allegations. Right. All these kids were suspended, all these different things. We're going into the first game of the year against LSU in the Georgia Dome in the Chick-fil-A kickoff. We had like 30 guys suspended from the game. And it's kind of a little bit of a blessing in disguise. We weren't going to be this huge passing team. It was not really our huge thing. We're going to be more of a running team, but you go into this game, 2 running backs are down, 2 wide. Anyways, we had to throw the ball all over the yard. And then that LSU game, I ended up throwing for 400-something yards, whatever. And then I remember after that game, somebody had contacted my dad, an agent had contacted my dad about representing me in the future. And that was kind of the point. And I was like, why does this guy want to represent me in the future? What do you mean? I was like, oh,
there's a future
There's
here.
a future after this. So that was you asked that question earlier. That was really kind of the point where I was like, okay, this could actually be something after college. And continued on the rest of the year, having a really good year, and ended up, making it up here.
And so you get there, and you're drafted in the 5th round to Houston. And once the season gets going, Matt Schaub's the starter. You have Matt Leinart in the QB2. You in the 3rd string, just, riding it out. And then those guys go down, and here you are stepping into a starting role. What was it like in those first snaps when you went in? It was a second quarter, right?
It was the second quarter. And
Against Jacksonville?
Against Jacksonville, yep. Thankfully, it was a 2-minute drill. So I literally hadn't had any time to think.
Yeah.
Literally, Leinart went down, broke his collarbone. Hey, you're in. It was my first game ever dressing in the NFL, and it's just boom. I didn't have time to think, which was actually kind of nice. We ended up going down a 2-minute drill and getting a field goal. And then, halftime comes around, you start to settle down, and you start thinking a little bit.
So just catch up with you.
Yeah, then the nerves start kicking in a little bit. But I had such a good team around me. We were very talented on defense. We had an awesome running game. I had Andre Johnson, I had Arian Foster. I had a whole host of guys up front, Gary Kubiak, calling the plays. They made it really easy on me, obviously, for a guy in that position to step in and still have success. Then we ended up making the playoffs that year, which was really cool. And that kind of, sprung me forward into the rest of my career.
And that was historic because they hadn't yet, in franchise history, clinched a playoff berth.
Yep.
And in that game, in a comeback victory where there's all these emotions running high, was it true that you did not know that game clinched it?
Nope, no clue.
Okay, so to set the scene, it's 2011. You're starting. Quarterbacks are hurt. Y'all are about to clinch.
Yeah, it's week 14, December 11th.
In Cincinnati.
Yeah.
Yeah, walk us through that day. Because Amna and I were having this conversation. We're like, how did he not know? How did you not know that? Because I think about from our perspective, it's that's all you talk about. If that's coming up, that they could potentially clinch, it's that's all you're talking about in the week leading up. You're the starting quarterback. How did you go an entire week and not truly that sink in?
And I guess at that point I was just so worried about, playing, because that was only the 3rd or 4th game I'd played. Right. So 3rd or 4th start, whatever it was. So I was just so worried about the playbook and making sure I had this guy coming in motion. And I was just so deep dive into the playbook and making sure I was on my stuff. And maybe I had Twitter back then. I don't even know when it was. The media wasn't as big as it is today.
Yeah, 2011, different media landscape.
So, I guess that I just didn't even realize. I didn't know the scenarios. I was very green as a rookie. Even in that game, again, the first half, I played terrible. I threw a horrible pick. Gary Kubiak pulled me off to the side. I'm trying to walk off the sideline after the pick and kind of go away from him. And he's meeting me at the spot. And he just absolutely chews me out. It was the coolest thing because he was what are you doing? What the F are you doing? What are you seeing? Blah, 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 blah. And I tried to explain myself in the best way I could.
Yeah.
He was like, all right, well, get ready because we're coming back out. We're throwing the ball. And I was like, okay, cool, got it. Gary Kubiak's one of the best coaches I've ever had. He was, I might make a bad portrayal of him, but like he was an awesome coach and he gave you a lot of confidence playing. But it was like, hey, like get past it. We're going to come back out. We're going to keep slinging it around.
Yeah.
Second half, go back out there. Crazy game. We're down 2 scores with 8 minutes to go.
Mm-hmm.
We score, get the ball back. And like even in the moment like of the last 2-minute drill, like I'm just trying to get down there and score. Like I wasn't worried about the situation because obviously I didn't know the situation. Like I was just trying to win and we get back into the locker room. Awesome win for us. Come back, touchdown with a couple seconds left. We kick it to go by 1, and we get into the locker room. I was just like, oh cool, everybody's celebrating because this is an awesome win. And they're like, everybody's watching the TV, and I think it was Tennessee versus New Orleans had. The clinching, I don't know, the win-loss, whatever it was, whoever it was. And, like, everybody starts going nuts, and they start passing out these hats. Someone's like, wait, did we just win the division? Like, I'm not joking. I had 0 clue. Like, none at all.
Do you feel like that helped you, though? Like,
I
the
think
fact
so.
that you went into that game and you're just like, we're just playing to win. Yeah. Like, there's not this thing in the back of your head being like, if you don't win, you go another week where you potentially could clinch, but then you kind of like destiny's in somebody else's hands type of thing. Yeah,
it's kind of go back to what you're saying earlier. It's like when you're not thinking about certain things, you're not, clouding your brain with all these different intrusive thoughts that have nothing to do with what you're actually doing. Like you're just playing free and going out there and having fun, like not worrying about the situation, the what ifs. Like it helps. Yeah, it sure does.
And then we fast forward a little bit, a couple of years, you find yourself in Atlanta for the first time.
Yes.
And it's 2014. And what's interesting, too, is that your first professional start was against the Falcons.
Correct.
In 2011, that year that we're talking about.
Against Matt Ryan.
Yes.
That I always still give him crap about.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
Did y'all beat him?
Oh, yeah.
How did you do? And how did Matt do?
He played one of his not as good games.
Okay.
Not as good.
And I played a little bit better. I think he threw like a couple picks early in the game that really helped us out. And again, we had a really good team. Like I did not do much. Like I handed the ball off, threw 1 touchdown pass. Like I had like 11 completions. Like it wasn't like I would lit the world on fire. Like our defense took care of everything for us. But every once in a while, I'll give Matt a little nudge. Like, that one time I beat you.
It's funny because your story kind of goes through Atlanta a little bit. You're a kid from Marietta, played high school in Marietta, and then you come in 2014 and you're Matt Ryan's backup. And what was that year like for you? I know like didn't get a ton of playing time, but what was it like for you to kind of come back home in a sense?
It was cool. Obviously it's a shock when you get released for the first time from a team you got drafted by and had so much success there. Because I actually was released, but I was released at the end of the day, so it hadn't gone through the waiver wire yet. And it had come out on the internet that I was released, but I wasn't actually released yet.
Yeah.
So then the Falcons ended up trading for me instead. So instead of getting released, I got traded for all in like a 10-hour period, which was kind of funny. And just remember getting the phone call. I was like, you ready to go home? I was like, I'm going home anyways. What are you talking about? You're getting traded to the Falcons. So, no, that was really cool. And being back with my family. And I've been extremely fortunate and blessed because coaching and playing has taken up like 80% has been in Atlanta or Houston. Like I had a small stint with Buffalo, a small stint with Miami, but coaching and playing, I've been in Houston and Atlanta, which are basically like my 2 homes. So, and a lot of it's obviously been here. That's just so rare in this business to be around my family, my wife's family, all of our extended family. Like having Christmas and Thanksgiving with your entire family in this business as a coach is so rare. So that part's really cool.
When you think back to that year, Matt Ryan just retired. We're recording this probably a couple weeks after he officially announced his retirement. What was your favorite memory of that time? And we do have a question for you if you don't bring it up yourself. So what's your favorite Matt Ryan memory and working together with him?
Still obviously a really good buddy of mine. Played a lot of golf together, a lot of good times off the course. I do remember one time we went to Green Bay on Sunday night.
Okay.
Ended up ferocious comeback that he led. We ended up losing, but he got up in front of the team after the game and gave this like post-game speech. And like I swear the entire team was ready to run back out on the field right after. I was the most pumped up I've ever been pregame, but it was after a loss. Like, it was wild. Like, to see, like, his true leadership and how a certain person can make an entire team believe in somebody, like, that part was really cool. Like, opened my eyes. I was like, oh, wow, this dude is the real deal. Not only as a player, but, like, as a leader and, like, a person. That was really cool. Yeah.
Now, the question that we have for you, did you ever get to throw a pass to Julio?
No. Strict no. Routes on air, practice, whatever. If Julio was up, ready to go over there, Matt Ryan's throwing him the ball. Like, nobody else but him. Like, people was like, oh, yeah, what's it like to throw to Julio? I was like, I got no clue.
Couldn't tell you.
No idea.
That's my favorite thing.
No idea. Even, like, I mean, maybe, like, playing catch, like, pregame or something like that. Like, I probably have at some point, but it's like a physical route in practice, never thrown him the ball.
Those two sound very quintessential Matt Ryan stories.
Right, yeah.
Yes.
Was it like an unspoken rule, or did Matt ever say, like, hey, man?
Question.
I think it was probably like the first time around when we're doing, like, you know, just throwing routes in practice and, like, it's just my turn up and his turn up. Either Julio knew to, like, step back in line to line up with Matt, or, you know, Matt just gives me a little nudge, like, hey, you're good. Back up.
All right, buddy. Time for you to go.
It's kind of an unspoken thing pretty early on. Yeah.
Okay, I got you. That's great. Yeah. So you go back to Houston, and your career kind of, like, and Amna, I want you to set this up because it's such an interesting full circle moment, a nice little parallel, if you will,
yes,
of your career. Go ahead.
Yeah. So you get back to Houston to finish your career.
Correct.
Deshaun Watson, starter.
Yep.
I'm forgetting.
Tom Savage.
Tom Savage, yes. Thank you. QB2. You, third string. And
QB3.
Yeah.
They all start dropping like flies again.
Yes.
To parallel your rookie season. How do you, like, you know, when you look back at that, how do you quantify that moment? How did you stay ready in those moments and not, you know, check out and just, this is my career and this is who I am?
Yeah, I've heard the quarterbacks that are, like, on the streets as free agents that are, like, still working out, like, during the season, it is not an easy life. Like, you wake up, you don't really have anything to do, you're trying to find receivers to throw to, you're trying to work out, like, you're watching every Sunday, just, like, I don't want to say hoping somebody gets hurt, but, like, hoping for an opportunity to open up, whatever that opportunity may be. And it's like, as soon as one quarterback goes down, it's like, oh, maybe somebody give me a phone call. But then, you know, it's kind of just a weird spot to be in.
Right.
So you have to, like, stay motivated. You know, at the same time, like, at that point in my career, I'm starting to think, like, all right, if I don't get that phone call, what am I going to do? Like, you know, your funds don't last forever. So you got to start thinking about a job. I had a family at that point.
Right.
But then, you know, you're just sitting there on one random Thursday night at 8:30, and Bill O'Brien calls you, and he's like, hey, what are you doing right now? And I was like,
you up?
You up, bro?
Is you awake? I mean, yeah. I'm like, yeah, I'm awake. He's like, can you make a 9:15 flight or whatever it was? And I, like, hopped on a plane, got to Houston on Friday morning, did my physical, walked straight out to practice, no warm-up, get thrown right into, like, a red zone drill, and then I'm the 2 on Sunday. Like, going into the game, like, dressing on Sunday, going from, like, that Monday, I don't know, I was probably drinking beers with my buddies, like, hanging out, watching Monday Night Football, and then, like, fast forward to Friday, like, Sunday, I'm getting ready to play an NFL game. Yeah. So, you know, those spots to be in, you always have to be ready, and you always have to be, you know, kind of on point. And even if you're not ready, you better be ready.
Yeah. What did you learn about yourself kind of during that time, and how does that experience relate to you as a teacher and coach today?
I think my experience going back to Houston multiple times, I went back there 3 separate times. I think it honestly, I mean, this would be more of a question for somebody that in their organization to answer, but I think it had to do more with relationships and me building those relationships with, you know, ownership and, you know, scouting departments and all that stuff, and just trust that I had with people in that building, trust that I previously had with Bill O'Brien, that I knew the system, I can come back in and be on the drop of a hat to be ready to go on a Sunday. So it was more about whenever you're in a certain spot or in a certain place, it's a lot more about, you know, people, relationships, you know, getting to know people, all that kind of stuff, not just always strictly X's and O's and performance and all that stuff, because I don't really have an answer for why else. Like, there was a lot of other more talented quarterbacks out there that they could have gone and picked up. But I think those things were some of the stuff that helped me get there.
I love it. That's a nice note to end on. Well, we've been talking for about 23 minutes, but we always have to finish up with our rapid fire section.
Ooh.
I know. It's very exciting. So everybody gets 5 questions. Some are, we'll do the same like 4-ish questions for everybody, but there's always one that is special to the person in the chair. So are you ready?
I don't think so.
Okay. Well, you're ready nonetheless, because here we go. What was your favorite play of your career? And this could have been high school. It could be college. It could be in the pros. It could be one that you just watched, too, now that you've been coaching for a little bit.
It was definitely the game we referenced earlier, the Cincinnati game to clinch the playoffs. Threw a 3-yard touchdown pass to my buddy Kevin Walter to clinch the division.
I did
not know at the time, but I found out later to clinch the division. That was
That's great.
All right. Fave player,
regardless of sport.
Yeah, probably basketball, maybe.
Growing up, who was your favorite player growing up?
I believe from Indiana. I was a huge Reggie Miller fan.
I had a feeling you were going to say that.
Yeah, Pacers were a big part of our life. We were big
Love
Pacers fans, and Reggie Miller at that time was like the guy there. So growing up, I was a huge Reggie Miller fan.
I love it. That's so great. Okay, I know there's a lot going on at this time of the year. I feel like we're in the off season, but we're also not in the off season because there's so many balls in the air that you're juggling. But if you could recommend a TV show or movie in the spare time of the audience, what would you recommend to them to watch?
Current?
Anything, whatever you like to watch.
We were actually talking about this the other day in the quarterback room, like favorite series to watch. We're talking about movies and stuff. I am a huge Entourage fan.
Oh, okay.
I've rewatched that series a disgusting amount of times. Like I could
disgusting amount.
Like everything about it, I could quote the whole thing.
Yeah.
I'd go back and watch it tonight.
Okay.
Yep.
Fantastic. Everyone, Entourage.
Watch
it.
All right. If you were to have a superpower, what would it be?
This is always one of my favorite ones because 1, it kind of trips people up, but also 2, we get some good answers from it. It really gets into the mind of the people.
I'd go time travel.
Ooh. Okay, are you jumping ahead or are you going backwards?
Back.
Okay,
where are you going?
To what time?
I actually can do both. Can I go forward and back?
I guess if you're a time travel, you can do,
Yeah.
but unless you kind of are under the assumption that like time hasn't happened yet, so there's nothing to jump forward to.
Now you're getting real
Or
deep.
it's
You're
all
getting real deep
it's
on
all
us.
written
It's
and
linear.
there's different
Time is linear, and you can jump through dimensions and all that stuff. Yeah, I'd go time travel. I would go back.
Okay.
Because I think there's so many advantages that, you could place a bet on something, maybe invest in a stock here and there. You could go
Put
back
money down on Secretariat.
Yeah, exactly. Go back and, see your family members when they were younger.
Yeah.
I think that would be cool. I think it'd be a little weird to jump ahead because then you'd find out some stuff you probably don't want to find out.
Good point.
Yeah.
You already kind of
I
know
feel
what's
like
happening.
you want to go back.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
kind of already know what happened in the past. You can just go check it out
Yeah.
from a observation. I wouldn't want to interact. Butterfly effect, all that stuff. Like,
It's like, I'm not even here anymore.
Yeah, exactly. So I think that's a good one.
That's the first time we've had time travel
Okay.
as an
It's
answer.
a really good one.
Yeah, that's good. Okay, last one. Who gave you the toughest hit of your career?
Ooh, this is an easy one.
Okay, who? Well,
I'll give you one college and one pro.
okay.
So I was at University of North Carolina, and one of my teammates, one of the guys that was on the team here last year, a guy named Calais Campbell.
Yep.
You know him. He hit me so hard, and I think he hurt 5 different things.
All
hurt
the
my
ribs.
wrist, I cracked a rib, got a minor concussion, got the wind knocked out of me. I thought I got hit by a car, and all it happened at the exact same time. Fast forward to the NFL, my first career start against the Falcons, against Matt Ryan. It was the second quarter, third quarter, whenever it was. Play action to the right. John Abraham absolutely whoops the right tackle. Sorry, Eric Winston. You missed on that one. Beats him, and I'm going to throw to my left, and I just get absolutely leveled. And the only thing I remember about it is I hit the ground before I remember anything. Somehow held onto the ball. But I remembered vividly both of my contacts popping out of my eyes.
No.
This one disappeared. This one was still on my eye. So I found this one, put it back in, and then the left one was just gone. So the rest, and I didn't have a spare on the sideline. So for a quarter, I'm playing without a left field, downfield contact. Because John Abram hit me so hard that both of my popped out of my eyes.
That's insane.
I did not think we were going to get that story.
That was a good one.
That's a good
It didn't hurt though. It was
It was just the
I'm like, my pads did a great job. My helmet did a great job. Like, I wasn't like, I was just like, what just happened to me?
That's crazy. So I'm also glad that you brought up Calais because we have a parting gift for you.
Ooh.
A nice little photo. Here's you and Calais. Look how nice y'all look together.
Oh, yeah.
Show the people.
Show the class.
This is Calais Campbell. One of his 100 sacks was against me. That's me laying on the ground. This is like basically a screenshot of the exact same thing happened at Miami.
Right, yeah.
But yeah.
Who's the guy? Who's 79 right there? Because he's kind of giggling a little bit.
You know what? I'm going to leave him unnamed because I don't want to...
Don't need to call out more people.
I don't want to call out another tackle that got me hit because I already got one that was pretty bad. But yes, that was a rough day. I think we lost like 31-7. But I threw a touchdown pass in that game, so that's all that matters.
Yeah, that's it. Well, that's a great note to
Bringing
end
up
on.
bad memories. Thank you.
You're welcome. We like to bring up things on this podcast. We like to have a little fun, a little bit of laughter.
Yep.
Thank you so much for taking the time to chat with us. I hope it's been fun going down memory lane.
Absolutely.
Okay, great. Well, everybody, make sure to like and subscribe to the Atlanta Falcons Podcast Network. You can check us out on Spotify, YouTube, Apple Podcasts, anywhere you get your podcasts. We're there. Coming to you quite often. You see us all the time. Amna, TJ, Tori, thank you guys so much. This has been a fun one.
Thanks, guys.